And now, podcasting from the sun-scorched desert Southwest, weighing in at a combined total of 340 pounds, Brad Winchester, Tyler McDowell-Blanken, are Gimmick Infringement.
Welcome, everybody, to the Gimmick Infringement Podcast. I am Brad Winchester. With me, as always, is my tag team partner, Tyler McDowell-Blanken. Tyler, it is Sunday. We are recording before the playoffs, and we have a very special guest.
Yes, we do. I'm so excited, Brad. I'm always excited to see you, but I see you every week, man, and we text every day. You're my guy. We have a very special guest today. So excited to introduce him. He's a sports journalist who's contributed to Fansided.com, the Sports Fan Journal, Believe Podcast Networks, and AfterBuzz TV. It is true. We've got Cedric Welton on today's episode. Cedric, welcome to GI. How are you?
I am great, man. It's a great Sunday morning. Like you said, we got the playoffs kicking off in just a few hours. We saw some great playoff football last night. So, hey, Sunday fun day all the way.
Absolutely. Can we talk about that, said Brad? I didn't know if you were going to show up today. I was rooting for your Packers, man. Are we going to address the heartbreaking loss? It's totally up to you. I support you either way.
It was only heartbreaking because it was close. I thought it wouldn't be as close as it was. Listen, man, go back to the beginning of the season. Who had the Packers in the playoffs, winning a playoff game, getting to the second round, making it there at all? I don't think anybody did. It was Jordan Love's first starting season, and he lost the game playing a little bit like a rookie. And I look at the entire year as a giant bonus. I have no bad feelings about it at all because I got a quarterback again. I'm going to have a quarterback for 40 years of my life that has been good for my team. No problem with that at all. So I'm here to support Jess's Lions for the rest of the duration. But yeah, that's it. I'm good.
Cedric, whose stock do you, I'm glad to hear that. Whose stock do you think is higher heading into next season? Jordan Love or CJ Stroud?
Ooh. That's very tough to vote against CJ Stroud. Just when you look at the totality of things, you look at it's the Houston Texans, you look at the surrounding division. It looks like a division that the Texans will run for at least a decade.
Yeah.
It's like whoever's the good team in that division usually wins. I think previously we saw years of the Titans and Derrick Henry running around the league. And then you saw kind of an emergence of the Jags, which they took steps backwards this year, but it looks like the Houston Texans from now on. D'Amico Ryan's done a damn good job with that team, both sides of the ball. Absolutely. I remember watching the draft last year and just seeing them go all in with the back-to-back picks, and I thought it was very weird, but it panned out.
Yes, it did. And if you can keep D'Amico and CJ there, like you guys said, for the next decade, they're going to be in a really advantageous spot. But I want to stick with sports for just another moment here. So quick background for our audience. I discovered Cedric after tuning into an episode of Women's Wrestling Talk. And what stood out to me, along with the thorough commentary on wrestling, was the confidence that this brother has to have a Detroit Pistons flag in his background right now. If you're catching us on YouTube, you can see this. It's not accidental. Our guy placed it there prominently. Cedric, we got to ask you before we get into some other business. Like, yeah, we're going to talk wrestling. We're going to talk ASU in a moment. I know you got the tea. I have a couple questions for you, but we got to know the Detroit Pistons. I host this show with a diehard Pistons fan. You are joining us today. How are you feeling about this season? Can this be rectified next year, at least?
It sounds crazy that I'm hinging the rest of the second half of the season on Danilo Gallinari and Mike Muscala in 2024, but I think
that's nuts.
I think we worked all right yesterday. I think we figured out some spacing for our rookie, some spacing for Cade when he returns next week. I'm a real sicko. We're 4-38, and I watch every game. It's a disease. It is a disease. I will watch every single game, and I'll try to find the positives. And maybe in some snowballs in hell chance of it. It's just like, hey, maybe Monty did not vet the roster at all when he took the job. Maybe he didn't know his players, though it took him half a season to figure it out. But, he's getting there. Yeah, Jaden Ivey locked up, and now he's like, oh, that's actually a good player. Let me play him more.
I should use him. I should run some sets for him.
Yeah, same with Austin Thompson. It's like, oh, Isaiah Livers is a vet. Let's play Isaiah Livers over Ausar Thompson after he was third in rookie voting. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. Austin Thompson looks good when he plays over 20 minutes, right? I have to believe that we can at least get 15. At least. It's only 4 right now.
I hope
15 would be a win. A big win.
That'd be a win. And I think, you know what? Trade deadline's February 8th. I don't think we'll get a big fish, but I think we'll get somebody in-house. I don't know who. We'll absorb somebody's contract because we're going into next offseason with like $60 million in cap space.
Right.
So, and we're not a free agency destination. We know that. We weren't going to sign OG Anaboy or Pastor Siakam in the offseason, but can we absorb like Jeremy Grant's contract? Sure. That's a nice reunion. We can get some type of wing player or somebody to help out by just trading for him. It's just a matter of like not getting rid of the core 4. Honestly, I welcome, and I cringe when I say this, but if there's a way without getting rid of one of the core 4, getting Zach LaVine and Andre Drummond back in Detroit, I do that.
Really?
Like that.
Yeah.
Zach LaVine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Give me somebody who can go get a bucket whenever, and Drummond could be a great. If we don't have to play James Wiseman again, I'm okay with it.
Not James Wiseman. I liked him so much coming out of Memphis. So I want good things for him, but I don't know that this is the right fit. But I don't know where the right fit is for him.
It's addition by subtraction at this point. We saw Livers go out, Osser's back. We stopped playing Wiseman. Muscala looked good last night because we're not playing Wiseman minutes. And the next domino to fall is not playing Killian Hayes. And that's either going to happen because we get a better guard in, or Monty Morris recovers from his phantom injury for the past season. So I think Monty Morris is supposed to come back this upcoming week.
I forget that y'all acquired Morris.
I
really liked his game the past few years. Even though he was on Denver, he was one of my favorite point guards in the league.
It's a rough season. Yeah. So especially when you pay a guy so much to coach, and it feels like there's no coaching happening.
Brad, I'll pass it to you and then we'll move on. Brad and I were so optimistic about that Monty hire. So I'm a Suns fan, so we, Brad and I share a lot in common, but now we don't share custody of Monty anymore. But he was our guy. He was coach of the year, finals appearance. And then he signed with your and Brad's franchise. And I thought, that makes a lot of sense. Like he had the press conference, and we know Monty's a high character dude. Brad, do you still think Monty and Cade are the duo? I guess kind of similar to D'Amico and CJ.
Off, man. Way too much money. Way too much money. No,
there's no
way
hope.
Too much
Year
money.
2?
Was there a hire that you wanted before we put the full court press on Monty?
No, because when I saw. Okay, so. Just maybe it's my bias from living out here now. When I went to Fry's and bought myself a Rally the Valley T-shirt for the playoffs, for the Suns, when I saw Monty's name on the list as a possibility, I was like, yes, we have to make this happen. This will be great. And then I saw the number and I went, oh, they must think that we're winning championships soon for this hire. So I went in with super high expectations, and there's probably better fits. I don't even remember who other candidates were now, but I thought it was going to be a different story this year. And I think a lot of people were like, they're going to be a play-in team and at least be in the mix, not 4 wins in January. That's crazy. This is crazy. And like your highest paid player is a coach. It's just nuts. I got nothing.
Yeah.
And a lot of the losses they really come down to like coaching decisions in the midst of the game. If you really watch them, it's like, why do you ride the bench players this long? Like, why if a bench player is hot, why'd you sub Killian back in? It's like there's certain things that happen during the course of a game where it's just like, you got to blame it on Monty, and then he'll go to the press conference and say it's on me, and it's yet nothing changes.
Yeah,
it really changed when whatever's going on with the assistant coach Dan Burke, like the defense just nosedived. I don't know why, and he's having a personal issue. But if you look at the defense during the first game of the season against, I think it was Miami and then Chicago, everybody was floating to the paint, really protecting the paint, things like that. Those principles are long gone. They've regressed completely.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like the fan reaction online, the knee-jerk reaction, maybe not knee-jerk. I guess you can't say it's that in January with 4 wins, but it's sell the team. It's nuke it entirely. But ownership has to take responsibility for some of this because they're why we're here right now. They're why we're in the pizza arena. They're why there's so many. I'll never not call it that because I just think it's just ridiculous. But yeah, I there's a lot of problems there. Mostly, I miss the Red Wings. I'm just going to say it like that. Like, I miss all the Detroit teams. There's always a good Detroit team. So we have the Lions as our good Detroit team right now. So I feel like everything is wrong. It's not the Tigers. It's not the Wings. It's not the Pistons. It's the Lions. We are relying on the Lions. I don't feel good about it.
Mm-hmm. Well, something I feel good about. I have my maroon on today for a very specific reason. And I have a hot take. Brad, let's hit the music.
And now it's time for Hot Take Time. Spicy.
So I graduated, from the U of A and spent the 6 years following college in Tucson. So I've been a Wildcat for a decent portion of my adult life. I love that university. I love that city. That being said, I have a confession to share with both of you. I've been working at ASU for about 2 years now. And the reality is, it dawned on me this past week, I am truly equal parts Wildcat and Sun Devil. It's not a cop-out. It's truly how I'm choosing to live my life right now. So much so, Brad, Cedric, I even bought a maroon and gold Arizona State alumni license plate frame from our bookstore this week. I did the thing. You guys know that the rivalry between these two schools and their fan bases is serious business throughout the state. Cedric, I've been converted, but tell us, how was your experience as a Sun Devil? I know you're a graduate of the illustrious Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication. How was your time there?
Going to Arizona State it's really like the best decision I ever made. As an 18-year-old from Carson, California, going to ASU for journalism. I was actually part of the first Cronkite School. Like, before the journalism school really kicked off, we had a dorm called Cronkite Village right there by Hayden Library in that small small little shack called McClintock Hall. That's where I was. First 30 students for Cronkite Village before they actually migrated to downtown. I was part of that first 30. So honestly, best decision I ever made, from college life to journalism, Cronkite School. All the friends I still have today, I met the first day on campus. So great school. And you're right about the rivalry. It's deep. And I know U of A has kind of roughed us up in football. I think they just kept the Territorial Cup. They almost put the silver lining was that they didn't put 70 up, I believe.
That's true. Yeah. That was the whole thing.
That was the whole thing.
You saw the billboard.
Yeah. We put 70 up on them a few years ago.
You know how it goes. It's like a seesaw, right? Every few years.
But I've seen some bad beatdowns. I remember watching a U of A rivalry game out here one year, and they literally had, like, every running back on their depth chart had 100 yards that game.
Yeah, I remember that.
Not joking.
Yeah.
Not joking. It was bad.
Yeah.
The run game strong. Yeah.
So, like, it's a fun rivalry, but Arizona State's, at its core, it's a good school. I think at one point it held the claim of having the largest population in the country. It's growing across 4 campuses in Arizona. There's campuses out here in California on top of the online school. You'll drive around here in California and see ads for Arizona State Online College everywhere. So it's growing to a point where it's you can really call it like a nationwide institution, which I think is really cool to have been a part of something that they kind of take your tuition money, they put it into the institution so they can grow and reach more people.
Yeah. Well said, man. It's really a privilege to have been a student there and now an employee. It's a really great place. I'm so happy you had such a good experience and that you're repping the maroon and gold to this day out in Cali. That's beautiful. Well, speaking of what's beautiful, Brad, it's time. We're gonna start this episode in terms of our wrestling talk with AEW. So I want to address some of the key points that I saw this week, and then I want to hear what you guys think. Christian Cage retained his TNT championship. Deonna Purrazzo and Tony Storm are feuding. We were speaking about this in the production meeting. Bullet Club Gold now is aligned with the Acclaimed, and they have probably my favorite entrance in all of wrestling, BC Gold, that is. I think that song goes so hard. The lighting treatment is fantastic. And Queen Aminata continues to impress. But speaking of impressive, guys, I want to start with that Dynamite main event. Who was the bigger winner this week? Hook or Samoa Joe?
Ooh. Hook. Hook. I mean, Hook got murdered. Samoa Joe looked like a monster, but nobody can say that Hook looked bad in the match. I mean, he got beat down and everything, but kicking out at one from a muscle buster and then taking a beating after the match and continue to go. I love that. I love the small guy fighting the big guy. Both of them ended up looking really strong, even though Samoa Joe was clearly the guy. I really enjoyed it. So I can't. Does Samoa Joe need it at this point? I guess is what I'm trying to say here. I don't know if you can make him look a lot better than being world champion who beat the longest reigning world champion. I don't know. I don't know what else do you do there. So for Hook, who's that from Jinder after TK's meltdown? I think he needed that showing. I think it looked really good. Yeah, man. I think Hook walked away looking great. Sad, how about you?
I echo that as well, because Joe, at this point, he's just your plug and play badass. Whenever you need to call on Joe, he'll run a program, lead great mic segments, and always perform in the ring as well. Hook, who has kind of just been, I don't want to say like just floating around, he's had kind of his run, and he's been quiet for a long time. So even getting this match with Joe is huge to me, because it shows like where we see you trajectory wise. We see you at this top of the card, and while he's still young, he'll graduate those steps. But just being able to work a program with Joe, I think, is a win in itself.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Brad and I were really high on Hook over the past year, but I agree, Seth. It seems like he's just been kind of not really in a lot of meaningful programs. Like, yes, he has the FTW strap, and I think that's amazing, but this was it was by far the biggest match in his AEW career thus far, bar none. I think this is a really good sign for what his trajectory could be this year.
I also think that it makes sense if they're bringing back. Tony Khan said, I think it was yesterday, that they're bringing back wins and losses and that the records matter. That Hook has been racking up wins over wins over wins. He has to be the number one contender because he's only lost, I think, one match in his singles match in his career. So why wouldn't he be number one contender? So it makes a ton of sense, especially bringing that back to go like, yeah, he's won everything, so he deserves this match. And now we're back to wins-loss records. And I think that's pretty cool. I don't know how they rack up people to heat them up really fast for a program without AEW Dark and Dark Elevation. Because I don't know if you can remember in the way back, Mox and Kingston wanting to challenge for the tag titles had to go to Dark and Dark Elevation, and they just kept working matches to get wins so they can say they are now the number one contenders because they had a 0-0 win-loss record. And I don't know how you do that now without eating into ROH time and doing stuff there. It'd be interesting to see how this works without that supplemental programming. And I don't think they're doing house shows now that Collision is in existence. So be interesting to see what happens.
Exactly. Yeah. And I love Sed's description of Joe as the plug and play badass. For me, this was a real question. I thought Samoa Joe looked awesome after this. And even though I was really pushing for Swerve to be the guy to take the belt off MJF, I think this was a fantastic decision by TK and company to go with Joe as champ right now. This is just why Samoa Joe is who he is. I thought this made him look fantastic. Both guys really won for me. Great Dynamite main event.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Tyler, I think looking at this next coming Dynamite that they set up, they really loaded this thing up. Or excuse me, Collision. They really loaded this thing up. We have FTR and Daniel Garcia, House of Black, in an elimination style cage match. Huge. But we're not talking about the counter programming yet. How many eyes do you think they're going to pull away from the Rumble with this? I think this match is going to rule. I'm definitely going to watch it, but I'm going to watch it later.
Yeah, 100%. I don't expect a huge rating from this show. Like you, I definitely plan on watching it probably on Sunday, hopefully before we record our next episode. But the Rumble is just, I mean, we're going to pass it to Cedric in just a moment. I think the Rumble holds such a special place in the hearts of wrestling fans. It's by far my favorite wrestling event of the year, every year. It's going to be a fun main event on Collision, Brad, with those 6 guys, but I don't think it's going to do a huge number because we have the most exciting wrestling event of the year on Saturday night. I can't believe it's here. And this feels like the biggest, one. I know I say this every year, but this feels like the biggest one in some time. I mean, I know years ago we had like, oh, there's Goldberg and Undertaker in the same Rumble. That's nuts. But this year, there's just the potential for so many surprises. I know we're going to get into it later. Yeah, I don't think it's going to do a huge number though, man. Cedric, how do you feel about loading up Collision to take on, so to speak, the Rumble?
They are fighting an uphill battle that they absolutely cannot win because the Rumble is the most exciting event outside of WrestleMania. Literally.
Yep.
Literally. Like I'm going to be at the Rumble, so I can't say I'll
That's
watch.
Right. Yes,
Collision,
that's right.
but I will catch the results. But just with just the mystery in the air of like people who are free agents or possible returns. The Rock just showed up a few weeks back, and then CM Punk being in the Rumble for the first time in over a decade. Like there's too many things going on. John Cena posting this ominous IG stuff, and then his recent speech about making one last run or farewell. Like, is he a surprise interest? There's so many things going on surrounding the Rumble, and we don't have like a lot of confirmed announcements to appear at the Rumble either for men or women.
Right.
So like, there's a lot of things that are going on, and it all like folds under this Endeavor partnership and all the extra money that they can do to bring people in. I think we're going to see a very special Rumble. It's almost like I wish we had a throwback to that one year where we actually had 40 participants just so you can like cram in as many people as you can. But it's going to be nuts. It's going to be nuts.
I forgot you're heading to Florida, Cedric. That's big time.
I was just going to say it's wild. You're going to be there. I'm jealous. I'm not jealous of weather. We have that here, but I am jealous that you get to go.
Yeah, this will be my. Last time I went to a Rumble was coincidentally the last time The Rock was there. Yeah, I think it was 2019.
Wow.
Oh wow.
No, wait. Was that the Rock Rumble? No. That was 2019. I went to 2. 2019 was, I forget who won that year.
Was that Seth?
That might have been.
Was that in Phoenix? The one you're talking about?
Yeah, both the ones I've been to have been
in Phoenix.
In Phoenix.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, so you went to the OG one where it was Rock versus Punk for the title.
That one. Yeah.
Get out of here. You were there.
Yeah, I went to that one, and then the other one, I think it was 2019 or 2020. I went to.
Pretty sure that was Seth. Yeah. Chase Field.
Yeah, that one, Chase Field.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So one was at the Suns Arena. That was where Rock was versus Punk was at, and the other one was Chase Field. And I think was it Chase Field the Becky Lynch one?
Yeah.
2020 was Edge's return. So if it wasn't that one, it would have been 19.
Yeah.
I definitely wasn't there for Edge's return. I
had a feeling.
Was not there either.
Yeah.
That the funny thing is, I just looked at a tweet before we hopped on where WWE released the top 25 Royal Rumble returns or surprises of all time. That return only ranked at number 12, and that's absurd to me.
That's ridiculous.
I think we need a recount on that. Number
so
12.
John Cena in 2008 was number 1.
Okay.
That's always going to be number 1 for them.
Yeah,
That's they're always going to put that number 1. Cena's been there forever, company man, and it was great. But Edge at 12 is crazy.
Edge at 12 is insane to me.
That's a choice.
And then even his other return where he won the Rumble, I think coming in at 29 wasn't even in the list. So
I don't know.
Interesting.
I got to check that out. I have questions now.
Who else is up there? Was it Bob Backlund? Was he in the
This is
top
the top 25? I believe number 2 or 3 was the AJ Styles.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah, that's a good one. Well, we definitely have more questions coming up. But before we get there, we have an ad read. It's a new year, which means new resolutions. One of mine is to spend more time outside, away from screens, and around the people I love. Grand Patio is helping me do that. For over 20 years, they've partnered with internationally renowned designers to create collections that are equal parts luxurious and livable. The kind that can transform your backyard into a personal oasis that plays host to life's most special moments. Grand Patio uses the best factories, offers handcrafted products from some of the world's most talented designers, and of course prioritizes sustainability. Their products include umbrellas. I think we're going to talk about umbrellas soon in the form of one, Kazuchika Okada, recliners, gazebos, sectionals, and much, much more, guys. You can visit our affiliate link, grandpatio.sjv.io/GIPod. Once again, that's grandpatio.sjv.io/GIPod to shop their collection today.
Man, we were talking about patios. We were talking about I got to get my yard all set up. I went out there earlier. It's raining here in the old Pueblo. Lots of moisture in the air. I'm kind of bummed. I got those pizza ovens in the back. I really wanted to do another run for the pizza oven today, but I don't think it's going to happen. And we got this big fire pit with all this wood in it that I got to burn. And that pit is huge, but it's not as big as the one on Oak Island. It's time for digging deeper. So play the music. Okay, so bear with me here. I got a lot of background for you. Cedric, I don't know if you've ever seen The Curse of Oak Island, but it is wild stuff, and I'm going to have a question for both of you. So they have a shaft called the Garden Shaft. It is a repurposed shaft they built, I believe, in the 1920s, trying to get down into this supposed tunnel that goes along into a treasure vault below this island in Nova Scotia. It's leaking. They can't figure it out, and now that we know it's not going to be ready to go until the fall, there is silver and gold in the water, traces of it in the water. However, they drilled trying to find the area that the money vault is supposed to be this week and found that that cavity has likely collapsed. And now they're not sure how to proceed in that area. They did run an adjacent shaft and sent a camera down there and saw some of the areas hundreds of feet below or 150 feet below have right angles carved into the rock. So they know that there's man-made structures down there. The crazy thing is, nobody knows who the hell put these things there. Nobody knows why they're there. This whole thing is crazy to me. So over in the southeast corner of the swamp, they found an old piece of planking that had nails and anchors in it that was used to be probably to hold lanterns, oftentimes used in tunnels. They found an iron tool called a set, and they found a huge iron chain with 3 chains running off of the main chain with a hook on the end used to offload chests. It's in a presumed harbor area that is in an old stone paved road that was underneath the swamp that was likely built in the 1500s. In this circular structure on the other side of the island, this huge structure that nobody knows who built it. There's no records of it. It's massive. They used XRF to try to determine the construction of some of the artifacts. Long story short, they ended up finding a bead, a Venetian glass bead, that dates it back to about 500 years ago. Again, nobody knows who put this there, the function of the structure, why, and there are no records of anything on this island except rumors of one Captain William Phipps, who was tasked by the English king to go find the treasure of the sunken Concepcion. And he came back a little late with less treasure than they expected. And he was in the Nova Scotia area at the time. So it's likely that, timeline-wise, Phipps probably buried this treasure on the island to hide it for safekeeping for later on and just never made his way back. So my question, because this is nuts, does the discovery of new evidence and new information in any field, history, you can go wrestling here, doesn't matter, does it change your current perspective, not only on that event, on your life, and how do you believe we should correct that understanding for future generations? And here's an example that changed the way that I look at the world. Zealandia. Have you heard of this continent?
I have not.
So Zealandia exists. It's a continent. It is New Zealand. 94% of New Zealand's landmass rests underwater. It's just below the surface, and you can't actually see it from the air. But we have an entire continent that people didn't know was there because it's just subsurface over, millions of years, thousands of years, whatever it may be. But I learned a couple of years ago that there was just another continent sitting there that we've never talked about. So knowing that we have new information and new evidence coming in all the time about the world, how does that change your perspective on the world and your life?
You want to take this one first, Zed?
That is very deep.
The man's a teacher at heart in every way.
Digging the title of that segment. Does it change my life day to day? Probably not. But the knowledge opens me up to, like you said, I want to learn more now because now I'm intrigued. Now, will I go and try to recapture this man's hidden treasure? Probably not. But I will go down the rabbit hole. I want to learn more. So things like this should be taught because it allows you to see the world as big as it is. One of my favorite things to do is stare out into the distance at the ocean because you realize like how small you are when in comparison to the ocean, how big it is. Stuff like that makes me think like, wow, all this, not just untapped water, because going beneath the ocean is endless, it seems, but having untapped land like that people don't know about, that should be almost common knowledge. I wonder if people in that country or even on the continent know that. Generally.
Right. Yeah.
Like that's just like general knowledge because you live there. Probably not.
Right.
Exactly. And to Cedric's point, I think my response plays into the title of your segment here, Brad, that it's a reminder that we have to dig deeper. We can't always just accept what's presented to us as facts. For example, obviously we had MLK Day not too long ago, and I was thinking about the way he was assassinated. I was thinking about JFK. I don't know if I was listening to a podcast or if I was just eavesdropping on someone's conversation this week, but I thought about those two guys and the fact that when I was coming up and going through school, I just accepted that they were both taken out by some lone gunman on his own accord. I would argue through digging deeper and through just growing up and thinking about these two murders and looking at research and, like Cedric said, kind of going down the rabbit hole. For me, it's clear that like Lee Harvey Oswald, there's no way that the schmuck just did that by himself. Like clearly, I think whether you say it was government or some other entity, like there's so much more beyond the surface than, oh yeah, like here's how MLK was assassinated. Here's how JFK went out. Like to me, there's something much more insidious underneath that. That plays a huge role in the history of our country. And even I would argue where we are now, where, I would argue some of our best, most revolutionary leaders weren't able to see their career all the way through because somebody took them out. And I don't think it was like some 5'7", 140-pound dude who had this idea. Like I think the government really, conspired back in the day. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist, guys, not at all. But to me, it's clear that there's some facts we've been presented about in the history of our country that it's just way more complex than maybe we read about or were taught.
Or things omitted. The Boston Massacre is one of my favorite pieces of Americana. The Great Boston Molasses Flood in January of 1919 that killed 26 people and upended a railroad track and flooded the harbor in Boston is just wild to me. That a storage tank full of molasses burst and flooded down through this harbor. It's molasses. People died. I didn't even know it was a thing. Not that it's got a great deal of historical significance or anything. I just thought maybe I would have encountered this information at some point. And I think that's the other thing, is just being open to learning new things, right? Like being open to going, oh wow, yeah, Vikings, their settlements in Nova Scotia from like around 850. They were here a long time ago, way before Columbus decided to send his brothers to commit genocide. It was way before that. It was way before that. So I love the show. I love what I get out of it. And I love that it pushes me to think about things a little bit differently.
Oh yeah, 100%. And Brad, you're one of the most curious people I know naturally. And then Cedric, I mean, I went to U of A for journalism. You went to ASU, as we established. But I think what we probably shared in common is that like day one of journalism 101 class, you learn that journalists must be inquisitive.
Yeah.
It's your job, right? To ask why, how, when, that whole gambit. And I think that speaks to our conversation here, Brad.
Well, we're gonna ask a lot of whys, but mostly we're gonna ask some whos. It's time to talk Royal Rumble. Let's go. I'm so excited for this. I love the Rumble, man. Jess, my wife, does not like wrestling very much. She like, it's on, she's fine with it, whatever, but she loves her some Royal Rumble. So I get her for one day out of the year. So I'm super excited for this to sit down. She'll actually be attentive and she'll care about it. I can't wait. It's gonna be so much fun. So let's talk about it.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. So I really have 3 questions for you guys. And the first one I anticipate is going to be pretty quick. Do we all agree that Roman retains this weekend? He's walking out victorious out of that fatal 4-way, or no? You guys aren't convinced it's a foregone conclusion?
No. Well, here's how I'll know. Where is it on the match card? Because
where do you anticipate? Maybe the opener?
If it opens, then Roman's retaining. Because one of the
has Roman ever pulled a Brock? And like,
what wasn't it?
Wasn't
it last year's Rumble against Seth when Seth did the Shield entrance?
Was that
I think that was the opener. I'm almost positive.
Was that last year? I felt like 2 years ago.
Maybe 2 years. Yeah, maybe 2
ago.
years ago. But that might be one of the only ones to answer your question. And I think that match ended. It was super fugazi, right? We didn't get a clean finish to it.
Yeah,
if Roman doesn't retain,
yeah,
like I don't think either of the other counterparts are guys you go into Mania season at this point and say like, hey, we want you to hold the strap, unless this news with Seth coming up Monday night is a lot more detrimental to WrestleMania season than we appear right now.
Mm-hmm.
So we just talked about conspiracy theorists. I'm the conspiracy theorist that believes that they want Roman to break the Hogan record. So he can't break that until like mid-September. I feel like that's going to happen regardless. Because like if we've gone this far, you kind of got to see it through. There's no way around it. Regardless of like Punk being back, finishing the story, Dwayne, you got to like, you'll never get this close again. So I think he holds that thing until Q4.
Man, yeah, he's got. Let's see. Yeah, he's got a while to go. Yeah, man, I don't know. I feel like he has to retain. I don't see any of those other guys being the guy, for a WrestleMania main event. Although certainly you could. I think you could probably put Randy in there and it would be fine. But it's not the same kind of. It's not that same level right now. Roman is on a whole other level. I just don't want to see him versus Rock for the championship. I hope they just go, no, we're not putting that on the line. This is for the head of the table. It has nothing to do with the championship, because I don't want, Rock's not going to be around long enough for it to matter. So it just becomes this thing. So it's storytelling. So I guess whatever. And it's WWE. So who knows what's going to happen between now and then. But to your point, I think I feel better about it depending on where it is on the card predicting, but I think Roman retains.
Yeah. I think for sure it's going to be Roman victorious. My second question, how about the men's Rumble? It seems like a 2-man race at this point. We have CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, or The Field. who are you guys picking to win? Any surprises you're hoping to see? I know we have Andrade floating out there as maybe someone who's coming back. Maybe some dudes from NXT will be on the big stage, possibly the Obafemis or others of the world. Who do you guys think is winning, and any surprises you're hoping for?
But like this week, I feel like there is no way that CM Punk doesn't win the Royal Rumble, because I feel like that's just contractual right there. It's like,
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
I'm coming back. What's your plan for me?
Main event.
I've always wanted the main event WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Give me a pathway to main event. Now, if it's not CM Punk, then I'm going to go the Field, because I don't think Cody will be a back-to-back guy, and that's where it gets complicated. Who's the Field? Is The Rock in the Field? Like, I don't know. There's so many layers of surprise. I think who I'd want to see, Andrade would be cool, and I would hope they would introduce Andrade in the middle of this Legado versus LWO feud. But like a real corny one that I want to see just off the strength is what we saw, I think, back in it wasn't 2020, it was like 2019, but or 20, might have been earlier than that. Give me Ty Dillinger at number 10.
Yes.
Give me that
Yes.
again.
Yes.
100%.
It's like a one-off surprise.
100%.
With the music.
Yes.
With the 10 music.
I've been thinking about that a lot, man.
Isn't he
I'd
based
pop
in
for that.
Florida? Flatbacks. That
Mhm.
school is over. Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Give me a one-day contract. Run that back real quick. I'd be very happy with that.
It's a great show.
Oh, I'm sure
Brian,
he
how
would
about
be
you?
too. Yeah, I think that's a great call. I think that's what I love about the Rumble is all the people that you don't necessarily think are going to win, but you know are going to get an incredible reaction, get their shine for a little while. I think that's what I liked about the Hall of Fame Women's Rumble was seeing all those stars coming back. It's like, well, I know this person who can barely get into the ring right now is not going to be winning the Rumble and challenging. I don't think anybody was like, oh yeah, definitely this person. But seeing Spears go back as Ty Dillinger and seeing, man, there's so many people. I think if Okada does decide to go WWE, I don't think he's available until after the Rumble anyway. So it won't be him at the Rumble. But Andrade would be nice to see in there. It'll be interesting to see how they present maybe some people that are returning. Does Andrade come back like he was, or does Andrade come back like he currently is? Because I like his current gimmick better than his old gimmick, but I would rather see him in the WWE. So that kind of stuff I'm really interested to see. And so if we have returns, are they returning the way they were? Are they returning the way they are? Can't wait to see it. I know Sean Waltman was talking about getting back in shape. So who knows? Maybe we get an X-Pac for a couple of minutes. That would be kind of fun. But to your point, I think it's CM Punk. He's won once, right? Not twice.
Definitely not twice.
Yeah, definitely not.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was like, did he win a second time? I know he was close in one of them. Then he got tossed.
Right.
It was the one where he was cutting promos in between.
Right. Yeah. I saw that clip surface this past week.
Yeah.
Yep.
Long hair Punk. So I don't know. I think CM Punk has to be the guy, but I also think I was thinking if he won twice already, then because I can't remember. I don't think they have him win a third time. I don't think they have him be the guy to be the So
No, that's just Austin and Roman, Austin, Michaels.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I don't think they put him in there with that. So especially with Roman currently doing what he's doing, I think maybe in the future they'll do something like that with somebody, who knows, but it's going to be a long time before that happens, I think. So yeah, I'm picking Punk for this. I don't think it's Cody back to back.
Yeah.
Cody needs to have a Shawn Michaels like meltdown when he gets talked.
Yes.
He needs to go nuclear. I need crossroads on refs, fans on the way out. He needs to just be pissed. Like,
the opposite
flaming tables.
The opposite of the stare after he lost to Roman at Mania, right? Like not sitting in the ring and staring like what just happened. Him just losing his mind would be great. I would love that.
Well, speaking of previous winners, said I'm a big Drew McIntyre guy. Brad and I saw him live a couple of years ago at a local show in Tucson, and I thought to myself, A, he's the largest human I've ever seen in person, and B, he's just fantastic at what he does. I don't think he's winning though here. I agree with you guys. I think it's CM Punk's to lose. So finally, how about the women's Rumble? Same question. who is your pick and surprises? Maybe Mercedes, maybe AJ Lee. Where do you guys stand here? Jade Cargill. I'm jealous because I think Cedric's going to get to see Jade Cargill's debut. I just want to put that in the ether. Let's start with you, Ced. Women's Rumble. Who you got?
So you know what? I've been saying this on WWT for a while. I don't think Jade shows up till Raw for Mania. Just with how bad Raw Mania was this past year, the Vince show.
100%.
But like, I think you can keep her buzz alive and just do teasers. They show some training videos, stuff like that. We're still talking about her. I think AJ Lee, you can stamp that. That's happening, 100%.
Yeah.
I think you might even see a Mickey James, whatever this Endeavor partnership is, with them doing some TNA stuff. I think another one is Naomi. A lot of people are speculating that she said farewell to TNA. There's no title chase with her and Jordan and Grace now. I think she'll be a layup. Tampa, I think she's from Orlando, so being in Tampa as well. The winner, I think a lot of people's favorite is Bayley, which I can see that. I don't know how you pull that trigger though. Like if it's just going to be Bayley versus Damage Control, is she going to have any help? Like, and that's where I think the Mercedes thing comes in. And we talked about when people come back, do they come back as their previous version or who they are now? I think it was really a power move that Mercedes recently trademarked all those things with the Mercedes Moné name. Maybe her contractual obligation is like, hey, I'm coming back as this and I own this. So I'm going to get all my rights, merchandise, stuff like that to me if you want me back. And I think now is a perfect time with Charlotte Flair's injury. If you want to boost your star power, now is the time. So like I honestly can't pick up against Bayley because I don't know anybody else you've built up. But the Royal Rumble is for making stars.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that. So if I was going to say, if you're going to make a star right now and maybe challenge Rhea, because you can do the Bayley stuff without the Royal Rumble win, maybe Liv, or if Raquel is healthy, I know she's been battling some health concerns. Maybe Raquel, it can be a winner.
Yeah, totally. I completely agree with you too. I don't think Jade's there. I wanted Jade to be there, and then I was thinking about it. I'm like, I don't know if I think they wait because having her, because she's a big deal, have her debut at the Rumble, and then I don't think they're going to have her win it. Wouldn't make a lot of sense for her presentation as this giant person that's probably a threat to everybody, and then have her not win it doesn't make a whole lot of sense as a threat. But was it 2 years ago? I think Charlotte came back from injury, the Raw after Mania, or maybe it was 3 years ago. I think it was Thunderdome. I can't remember. Wow, time, man. But last year was rough. So I'm with you. I think they make that a bigger deal. I think people know that it's a big deal. I don't know that Endeavor knows it's a big deal, but I also know that they have TV rights stuff coming up, and what better way to pop a rating than the Raw after Mania being loaded with some new stars and some big stars. Liv has been posting pictures, and she doesn't look like she's injured the way she was earlier. So I'm with you. I think AJ Lee shows up. I think Liv is there. I think Naomi is going to show up. I know her contract ended with TNA, and she thanked the fans in the ring. So I think she's just done. So I wouldn't be surprised if she shows up. There's a lot of potential for this one. I'm actually looking forward to this one probably more than I am the men's Rumble, just because I love all the talent on this roster. And with NXT, I'm not sure who the final four are, because like you said, Cedric, the Rumbles for making stars, and I think the final four has to include Tiffany Stratton. I think that's a
layup for sure,
right? There's going to be some really good stuff. I was thinking, who's the final four going into this, and I couldn't decide. It's Bayley, and then I want to say Damage Control, maybe Tiffany Stratton, because there has to be, if Mercedes debuts, all I can see is the members of Damage Control in the ring. It's her. She's looking out at whoever's next or something. Then she feels it behind her. She turns around and they're waiting to jump her. And you know what's going to happen right around the time the countdown ends, and then the Golden Role Models reunite. And I could see that happening. That would be huge. But
that would be great. Another name I'd like to see who's been missing for a while, just in the Rumble, All right, and main roster too is Mako Satomura.
Yes.
I don't know where she's
Great
been,
call.
but like I would love to see her main roster presentation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
there's so much potential.
that would be amazing. I'm going to keep my comments brief here. Guys, I'm going with Jade Cargill to win. I love it's got to happen. I love the idea of her debuting on, I think Cedric said this for us, on Raw after Mania. I mean, talk about restoring the feeling. That would be gigantic. It's my mission to get Jade to win this thing. I'm going to pick her. I agree. AJ Lee making her return. Cedric also mentioned the artist formerly known as Trinity, Naomi coming back. Like you said, she lives in Florida. She's from Florida. Yeah, that would be amazing. I'm going to go Jade Cargill to win it all. I'm excited for the Rumble, guys, but I'm also really, really excited for the Bachelor to return. Cedric, we have a segment on here. It's known really across the country. It's a rose from me where we talk all things Batch. I have some quick updates for you guys, so let's get into it.
And now, for a rose from GI's most eligible bachelor.
So The Bachelor is back, season 28. Joey is the lead, the tennis pro from Hawaii by way of Pennsylvania. I'm really optimistic about this season for several reasons, fellas. Quickly, there are two sisters on this season. They are from Philly, ironically. Allison is a 26-year-old realtor. Lauren's a 28-year-old nurse. They've admitted in their bios that they have dated the same guy in the past, but at separate times. I don't know what to make of that. Usually when contestants have a gimmick going into the season, they don't bode well, so I don't think either have a shot, but I wish them well. This cast, super diverse, lots of beautiful Black and brown women. Given that Joey made it to the finals of Charity's season, I think we could get a woman of color at the end and to be the choice. So really hopeful there, keeping my fingers crossed. And then finally, Joey has a mysterious uncle who kind of ruined it for him on Charity's season. When Charity met the uncle, Joey's uncle told her, Joey just doesn't seem like himself. I'm not really sure what's going on. So he for sure sabotaged Joey. Maybe it was a ploy to get Joey to become the Bachelor. I don't know, but I think we're going to see the uncle and maybe unwrap some of the mystery there. And then finally, restoring the feeling. Joey is the best Bachelor choice in some time, guys. He seems to have the emotional IQ and the charm and the personality that would lead to this being a great season. So unlike Zach, unlike Clayton, I don't think he's going to have a gigantic meltdown near the end. I think this is going to be a really fun one. My final three picks are Marlena, a finance writer from West Palm Beach, Florida, Lexi, a digital strategist from Atlanta, Georgia, and Kyra, a paralegal from Miami. You can read more about my predictions and my preview at gimmickinfringementpod.com. I can't wait, guys. I don't even have a question for you both. I just wanted to talk about Batch because I think this is going to be a really fun one. But I do want to ask you guys, what did we miss from the week? Whether it's wrestling, pop culture, sports, anything that we didn't cover. I heard about Seth Rollins' injury. We're going to learn more on Raw. Kazuchika Okada, you mentioned, Brad, is done with New Japan at the end of this month. Maybe it's WWE, maybe it's AEW. We're going to have to stay tuned. We talked Pistons. We covered a lot. Anything we left off?
Man, I can't think of anything right now. I mean, I'm sure that we did. I got nothing. I guess the new season of True Detective's out.
That's something.
Echo is on Disney Plus. I haven't watched either of them because I have no time. So there's that.
Really good.
Yeah,
I like Echo a lot.
Oh, I did see the first app. We haven't had time to watch anything else since then. So I loved it because it felt like the Netflix Marvel shows, and I really liked those. So,
what was your favorite one?
I really like Jessica Jones,
Same.
but yeah,
Same.
Jessica Jones is so underrated. Daredevil, especially season 3, was so good. But I love season 2, man, with Punisher, the Frank Castle stuff. I liked Punisher and Daredevil better than I like Punisher and Punisher. So there's that. But Jessica Jones is such a great show.
Yeah, Jessica Jones is my favorite by far. I thought Luke Cage season 1 was good. I thought the Defenders could have been way better.
Way
Got kind
better.
of easy during there.
Yeah.
Iron Fist just did nothing for me. But
Season 1 was bad. Season 1 was real bad.
Yeah, I mean, I had better hopes for it. But I mean, once you got in the season, you tied in more characters, and Iron Fist, I think, got better. But the difference between the Marvel on Netflix and like now the Disney Plus shows, like night and day.
Yes.
So I hope they start getting a little bit more of that edge with those shows now that we have the hosting presentation now.
And,
what was it?
Yeah.
I think the only one that was more gritty was Hawkeye.
It got close. Well, Kingpin, it's the overlapping person, right? Vincent D'Onofrio being in it, I think changed that. But I also think Marvel incorporating the Netflix shows into the MCU in the timeline order this week is something that we should probably mention as well. So I think they're now considered canon, which means the gritty stuff is part of the Disney platform, even though they're just appropriating it. It does sound like they're going to continue on some of the shows. So I'm hopeful for that. They're bringing back Jonathan Bernthal as Frank Castle. So I'm because he was so good in that role, and I'm hopeful that they'll bring back the show. If they're bringing him back, they got to get their hands dirty. They don't have a way around it. If he's playing Punisher, there's no way around that character.
Random question: who wins in a fight? Everything included, Punisher or John Wick?
Oh man, that's such a difficult question. I'm gonna say Punisher only because he refuses to die. I know John Wick too, but man, I'll go Frank Castle.
I gotta go John Wick. Wick is my dude.
I haven't seen John Wick take down Avengers yet. So until I see that and I have evidence of that, I have to think it's the Punisher. Punisher is taking down supers. John Wick is taking down bad guys who hurt his pets.
Dozens of them.
I just saw Wick survive Ip Man, if you're familiar with Ip Man. So that holds high ranks with me.
Yeah.
It's a good choice. Well, as we wrap up here, Cedric, where can we follow you, follow your work, show love? Give us those details.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it these days. That says that's CEDD_SAS. You can follow me on the gram. That is the answer. I do have a website pending being updated where all my journalism work is, CedricDWalton.com. The Women's Wrestling Talk platforms where you can see me streaming Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. That's WWTTalkPod.com, where we talk wrestling and get into little shenanigans there. Also, Daily DDT is where I write right now. And then Hawthorne Community Television is where I do a lot of city government news type work as well. I do report stories for the community as well.
Beautiful. The man is busy. You all heard it here. The man is talented, and he still made time for us. Thank you so much, Cedric.
No problem.
And we thank you all for being here, and we hope you'll join us again for the next edition of GI. Gimmick Infringement is a part of 19 Media Group. You can listen to us on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you find podcasts. You can also find us on YouTube via the 19 Media Group channel. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share.